Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Lullabelly Knitting Podcast. My name is Paula and I live just south of Edinburgh with my husband and my cat. Meg's just gone back to bed. She actually hasn't been very well recently, so we're kind of taking her to the vet and yeah. Anyway, she's okay today. She's kind of sleeping as usual. So this is probably going to be quite a quick episode actually. I have 3 finished objects, one large finished object and 2 small finished objects and 1 whip. And then I have about kind of 3 things I'm thinking about casting on or really want to cast on. Yeah, we'll see. So that's pretty much it. So I'll just get straight into it. So the first finished object is the Anker sweater again by Petite Knit. So this is knitted in Drops Daisy. So it's the first time I've knitted in Drops Daisy. I've still got the ends to weave in. So, and it's not blocked. So this is the first time I've knitted in Drops Daisy, and it's really lovely. It's really soft. I'm not that keen on the colour palette for Drops Daisy, so I don't think I would knit in it again. It feels heavier and warmer than the Drops Charisma, which I've knitted my other Anker sweaters in. So I think it's a real kind of, feels like a really chunky jumper. So once I've woven in the ends and blocked it, actually last night I just blocked my brown Anker sweater that I showed in the last episode. That's on the blocking mat just now, and yeah, I really like it. I've said before I find it really difficult to wear off-white because I'm such a mucky person. But I was kind of inspired by knitting the off-white toaster tank from my friend Karen, because I thought other people can manage to wear white, so why can't I? And maybe I can't, we'll see. Kind of amazingly it survived the knitting process without getting anything on it. And I wasn't being that careful around it actually. I decided to just kind of live normally and drink tea and coffee while I was knitting it, because it was for me. So anyway, it's really beautiful. Drops Daisy is such a kind of soft, fluffy wool. I know that other podcasters have said that it pills, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. I do have a little kind of de-pilling kind of razor from John Lewis that I have been using recently actually, and it does make a big difference to knits. I've just realised it's quite a dark day and I'm wearing black, which is probably not the best idea. Anyway, maybe this kind of white will brighten the whole lighting. My husband actually has a light for recording, like a kind of light and those kind of white round things. I don't know what they're called. So I should probably look that out and use that. But anyway, he's away at the minute. He's coming back today actually. He's just finished a couple of gigs in Bournemouth and London with his own band Lodestar. And I think the London gig went really well. They're kind of down to being a 3-piece now. Long story. Anyway, I think they're probably better being a 3-piece because the 3 of them have worked together for kind of 30 years and they know each other really well, and so I'd really like to see them as a 3-piece. I think they'll probably be much more dynamic. It's the 3 of them who kind of write and record together, and they've just brought somebody else in to try and because my husband can only play bass or guitar one at a time. But anyway, he's found a way of, they were kind of let down with very short notice, a bass player they had, with 3 weeks notice before the gigs, which is pretty awful. And so anyway, they kind of came up with a kind of solution to, it's something to do with, I don't completely understand it, something to do with, I think my husband either plays guitar or bass and then just uses like an octave pedal to kind of get the guitar or the bass depending on what he's playing. So anyway, I'm sure I've heard a kind of clip online that sounds really good. So so I'd like to see them as a three-piece. They work really well together, and what they write is really powerful and amazing. So anyway, so he's back today. So I just thought I'd record this quickly, partly just to kind of keep on top of all the knitting. So yeah, that's my Anker sweater, and I'm looking forward to, like I say, I think my colouring kind of suits. I'm probably going to get my black top all fluffy now, but I think my colouring kind of suits this colour. I think that's my neighbour just delivering logs to us. Anyway, yeah, so that's the Anker sweater. I don't think I've got much more to say actually. Yeah, it's in marzipan, did I say that? I used 9 balls, and yeah, so yeah, it's going to be a really warm jumper, so I'm looking forward to wearing it. And then the other two things I have, am I covered in fluff? Not too bad. The other two things, finished objects I have, are small items. So I finally have been wanting a blue Sophie scarf for a long time, since I started knitting Sophie scarves. I don't know if you remember, if you saw my other podcast, you'll have seen I started knitting a blue Sophie scarf, and then I'd just been to Dovecot and seen a knitting exhibition, and there was a knitted swimsuit with a belt that was knit half in one colour and half in the other. So I kind of, when I got to the halfway point of knitting the blue, there's a really kind of nice tweedy kind of mustardy yellow. So I knitted the second half in that, and I do wear it actually. I do like that scarf. But anyway, I needed a whole blue Sophie scarf, so I did it. And this is from my stash. It used less than 50 grams of Rowan pure wool DK. Yeah, from years ago. I actually had, so I had this colour, and I had another ball which I think they're the same colour but different dye lots, because when I sat them side by side, there's just a kind of fraction of a difference in the two balls, and I preferred this colour. The other ball actually had a whole 50 gram ball, and this was something like 38 grams or something, and I used almost all of it, and the other ball would have been better so that I wasn't potentially playing yarn chicken, but anyway, I just weighed it. So yeah, it's really nice to have a blue Sophie scarf. I haven't really worn it yet, so I think that pretty much completes my Sophie scarf collection. I don't know. There's such a kind of fun kind of palette cleanser thing to knit. It's by Petite Knit, of course. Yeah, so that's that. So, and then the final knitted object I have is, so I don't actually have it with me. I've taken it to work to use it there. I thought it would be better use there than at home. So it's from this book, Nordic Knits by Martin Storey. It's quite an old book, and it is this mug warmer, and I've kind of like the coaster that I knitted a while ago. I've kind of really liked the idea of this for quite a long time. So I think it was between kind of knitting two big items one day, and it took about 2 hours to knit, and I think I made it out of Rowan Cocoon, which I had in my stash. So I had purple and kind of yellow. So that's it there. I can never tell if it's focusing or not. Hopefully that focused. So that's it, and then with so you put a little kind of button on it and a loop to put it over the handle to kind of keep it on the mug. It wasn't dissimilar to knitting the teapot cover. So yeah, I think actually maybe you're meant to knit it, I can't remember, you're meant to knit it flat and then sew it together. I just knitted it in the round and then, yeah, then did kind of back and forward because you've got the space for the handle. So yeah, so that's it's at work, and that's my third finished object. So yeah, like I say, I mean, Rowan Cocoon, I think it's like an Aran weight, so it was knitted on really big needles, and 7mm needles. So it knitted up really quickly, and it was just a fun project. I quite like doing something different occasionally, because otherwise the bigger projects just take so much time, and there's the kind of enthusiasm when I first start, and then like I'll show you in a minute. So that's all my finished objects. So I have one whip, which is the Peacock tee by I think her kind of Ravelry is, her Instagram is Lynette, and I think her name is Lena Holm Samso. She's some Scandinavian person. They're actually on really kind of quite a short circular needle, so you're not going to be able to see the kind of the full effect. But anyway, the best part about the Peacock tee, so I've seen so many versions online, and they're just, you know, when I've said it before, when a design kind of ignites my kind of inspiration, I know that at some point I'm going to have to buy and knit that pattern. It happened with the Sugar Boo bralette and the Anker sweater and the Evendon cardigan. I mean, lots of patterns I've knitted. So anyway, this is I hope you can see the detail of the yoke. So you can see, if you can see the detail, you'll be able to see why it's called the Peacock tee, because it has this kind of ever increasing, it's like a peacock feather, because of the way that you do the yarn overs and the kind of knit two together and the slip knit. It kind of creates a kind of concertina in different areas. So, and you can see how far I've got. I think I've got about another 10 centimetres to knit of the body. But so the exciting part, that the yoke actually knitted up really quickly. That's the exciting part. And it was a really meditative and easy knit. For how effective the yoke is, it was a really easy chart to follow. And then once you get onto like the body, which is just stocking stitch, and which is fine. So it's good kind of telly watching or podcast watching knitting. But once you've done the exciting part and you're just doing the chunk of the body, it's quite, well, it then feels like it takes a long time. It's not boring, because I quite like just knitting in the round. That's fine. But it does feel like it's kind of takes longer than it should somehow. And then it's short sleeved. It's the summer, so it's short sleeved, so it's just got the stitches on hold for the sleeves. So I don't think it'll take long. Once I've kind of finished the body, the sleeves aren't going to take long at all. I just have to show you my new knitting bowl as well. So my friend and colleague Sarah's almost kind of psychic at getting presents. Like when I was unwell, she sent me a really lovely hot water bottle with a really fluffy cover and some kind of ginger and lemon tea, which was just exactly what I needed at the time. And I've been thinking about getting a knitting bowl for ages, so she said she got this from Etsy. And there's just that really kind of lustrous kind of shimmer on the bowl. I don't know if you can see it. It's really beautiful. Anyway, so this was my Christmas present from Sarah, along with some chocolate and some wool, which was really great. But yeah, like I say, she's really, not just for me, but for everybody. Like if we have to get a present for anybody at work, nobody knows what to get a person, but Sarah does. And it's almost like the rest of us haven't been paying attention to each other. But Sarah like knows in detail what people like. It's kind of uncanny. But maybe it just shows what happens if you actually pay attention to your work colleagues. So yeah, so I'm really excited. So this is knitted in, it's DK. I think the pattern is just kind of somewhere above DK. So I think it's kind of just above DK but not quite Aran weight. But I looked on Ravelry and quite a lot of people had used Drop Spell, which is what this is. So this is Drop Spell Navy. So yeah, I'm really excited. I kind of got to the point where I'd knitted, so I have so many jumpers. So my jumper collection had got so far out of control. I'm just going to check the time, the recording time. Hold on. 15. Yeah, okay. So my jumper collection had got so much out of control that some of my jumpers and knitwear were in a big tub in the bedroom, and then I'd had to start. We've got like a kind of like a games table, you know, one of those games table. It's kind of old fashioned. It's on wheels and it kind of slides and opens up so that you can play games. We got it from my mother-in-law when she died. So that's in the bedroom. So I'd started stacking on top of the games table, like all the rest of my knitwear. But it was just becoming unmanageable and I could never find anything. So when I wanted a particular jumper to go out or to go anywhere, I had to, it wasn't sorted in any kind of logical way. So I would have to pull everything out, and to kind of add to the difficulty of that, everything, I need to keep everything in zip bags, like plastic zip bags, because we had a moth problem. It's much better now and we don't have many moths in summer, but obviously I don't want to risk my knitwear being eaten by moths. So yeah, so I keep all of my knitwear in plastic freezer bags. So yeah, so when I was pulling stuff out, it's not always possible to see what's inside the bag, even though it's transparent. So it just became like an angry search every time I needed to find something to wear. So what I've done is, yesterday, and I've been putting off this task for months. But anyway, yesterday I'd bought 3 kind of larger underbed storage bags from IKEA. So I just went through I pulled all of my knitwear out on the bed and I sorted it into jumpers, cardigans, and then kind of other knitwear like tank tops or, you know, kind of short sleeved or summer tops. Not that I've got many of them in knitwear. So I sorted them all out and put them into separate bags, and now I know where everything is, which is great. And it's really great to rationalise my knitwear and to really take stock of what I have, actually, because now I know what I have and what I need. So part of the reason that I went on to knitting the Peacock tee was because I just felt like I had so much winter knitwear, and I do. Yeah, I do. And I've got wool for more, but yeah, so it's just a way of kind of stock checking and seeing what I have and seeing what more I can knit. But also I kind of want to, so my summer tops often excuse me, consist of just like kind of black little capped t-shirts from H&M, and they're really unexciting. They're okay, they do the job. But they're really unexciting, and so I really wanted to have some summer knitwear, which is a new thing for me. I think this is only the second. I knitted the Tulsa tank last year, so that was really nice. But this is the first time I've knitted a kind of short-sleeved cotton. So I think Drop Spell is cotton, linen and something else mix, but it's mainly cotton and linen. So yeah, so I'm really excited about this. I also have in my stash, I also have Drop Spell, it's going to make a noise, Drop Spell in Cherry Red. So this took actually it's going to take 6 balls of the drop spell. So I only have 4 balls of the drops cherry, so I'll have to order 2 more. I think Drops is such a huge company that dye lots don't really make much impact. I think they're so kind of standardized. I don't think that I'm gonna get any kind of difference, see any difference in the dye lot when I order 2 more balls, which is good. So yes, I'm going to do that. I'm not really, kind of like Drops Daisy, I'm not a big fan of the colour palette of Drop Spell, which is a real shame. It's a real shame. So I like the cherry red, but I don't really think red is my colour. I like the colour more than thinking about how the cherry would look on me in its finished form. So yeah. What are other colours? They've got like a kind of denim blue that I quite like, but do I really want to a kind of dark blue and a light blue top in the same pattern? I prefer it if they had like a deep, like a kind of forest green, or don't know, maybe a kind of mustard, don't know, brown, a nice kind of chocolate brown. So anyway, so if I knit this again, I'll knit it in the cherry, and if I knit it again, I've been looking for other kind of nice yoke design summer tops. Haven't really found anything that completely takes my fancy yet. So yeah, so I'll have to look for another yarn to knit, another kind of cotton linen yarn to knit, if I want different, better colours than Drop Spell. It's a shame because Drop Spell is really nice, and you know, affordable. I do such a lot of knitting that it kind of has to be affordable, really, because I do so much. You know, I know all knitters knit a lot. But anyway, so that's my Drops Peacock tee. So that's kind of everything, really. I did say this would be a short episode. Podcast recommendations. I've kind of quite like, I've probably mentioned most of the ones I like now. I really like, there's a podcast called Knits by AJ that I've been watching. So she does some interesting things, and there's another one I've just started watching called, I think it's called Sapphic Stitches, which is a kind of vintage knitting woman. She knits kind of vintage items, which I find fascinating. Knitting vintage patterns, the patterns are so densely written, and you almost never get a chart. It's not like today where quite often designers will chart the kind of the pattern and write it out as well, so you can choose. Different people like different formats. I prefer a chart because it's just easier, I think. But some people like to read the instructions. But in old patterns you almost never get a chart, and they're just written in such a, the font is really small, and it's not kind of laid out kind of very, there's no relief in the layout, so yeah, so it's a real, that's why I really like, what's she called, Emily Kate made this. I really love her podcast because she takes you through her whole kind of thought process, and she's like a kind of Frankensteinian. She'll take something from one pattern and put it into another design, so she kind of smashes designs together. So anyway, so yeah, so that's all for today, really. I'm currently reading Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I've got a really kind of low goal to read 1 book a month, and I'm hoping to read more because I have like a to be read pile, and it's constantly being added to. But yeah, so I'm trying to get into better habits of reading. So I did 1 book in January, which was great, but I really want to, I mean, Orbital is a very slim book. It won the Booker this year, last year. So it's a very slim book. So that shouldn't take too long. And then I've got other stuff kind of lined up. There's I discovered on Instagram, there's a, what's it called? Agatha, it's a kind of hashtag Agatha Christie 25. So I think every year somebody, probably the Agatha Christie estate, puts together like a kind of monthly reading list for Agatha Christie books. And in January I just saw a few people had been reading Five Little Pigs, which I haven't read before. I haven't read much Christie at all, actually. So I thought that might be a kind of jolly read. So I might do Orbital and then I might go on to Five Little Pigs. I can't remember what the February Agatha Christie recommendation was. And then what else have I got? I'm kind of thinking about, I really want to read the next, well I do and I don't, because it's not the jolliest read, it's Emer McBride's, so the follow-up to The Lesser Bohemians. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's The Lesser Bohemians. Which is it's set in 90s London, which is when I lived in London, and it's set where I lived, so it's like kind of Chalk Farm, Kentish Town, Tufnell Park, that kind of area. So it's really evocative of me living in London in the 90s, which is partly why I like it. But also she kind of writes in this kind of surreal, like kind of, she's Irish and she obviously kind of has taken her influence from like James Joyce and that kind of thing. So it's a kind of, the next book, which I can't remember the name, but it's published on February the 13th. It's about, it's a follow-up to the Lesser Bohemians, where it's a kind of young actor who kind of meets a much older actor, about 20 years her senior, and they have a kind of relationship, and it's very messy because they're both quite kind of messy characters with a lot of baggage. And when the book finished, it kind of left on a bit of a, there was kind of hope. But I suspect the follow-up is kind of going to throw the characters into turmoil again and mess again. So, but she's such a good writer. It's the kind of writing where I think to kind of understand it, I have to unhook my logical brain, because it's not written in sentences. It's not, she uses like nouns as verbs and verbs as adjectives, and it's all very kind of creative. So, but it makes sense in the end, so that's good. So yeah, so that's pretty much me for today. I'm just going to check the recording in case I run out. Yeah, 1 minute. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you. Oh, what I want to knit. So I want to cast on. I thought about having a cast on party. So I really want to knit the Anker sweater in lavender. Drops Charisma lavender. I really want to knit, there's a kind of vintage capped sleeved little top that I knit, that I have two of. I really want to knit that in charcoal. And then, yeah, I mentioned the Peacock tea again in cherry. So that's my kind of, I'm thinking about casting them all on and then just picking them up whenever I feel like it. So anyway, that's the end of today, and Meg's very cosy in her bed. See you next time.